Hey guys, what's up? Lewin here at Garageband and beyond. Welcome back for episode 4 of How to Record a Song Like a Pro. Today we are going to be talking about the presets that I trust and affect either zero or very little. And we're going to be talking about a couple of guitar sounds and the drums, because so many of you asked about the drums. Let's start with the drums. So the way that I find the drum patterns that I want is this. I sit down in front of my computer with my guitar. I open up GarageBand, make sure that it's set to the right tempo, make sure that it's set to the right key, and then I simply drop in a drum track, right? I just say create auto drum track and I'll just stretch it out, make sure that there's enough for me to play along to. I'll listen to it, and if it's not right, I will start searching for patterns that are connecting well with my guitar part. At this stage of the game, I'm not ready to edit or anything. I'm really just looking for a basic drum track to get me through the scratch track process. Check for episode 1 if you're curious about what a scratch track is. So anyway, I look for that basic drum pattern. In this case, it was this guy right here. Right? Nice and simple. If I bring in one of the acoustic guitars, you can hear it. Right? So you can hear those downstrokes are connecting with the kick drums. If you don't know a lot about playing the drums, but you do about the guitar, just try to remember that, what strums, try to identify in your head what would be a kick drum strum and what would be a snare. It's not always up or down strokes, but, you're looking for the numbers if you're counting like 1, 2, 3, 4. In this song, the kick drum would more or less be on the 1 and the 3. Now, of course, I did use the Liverpool sound, which I like a lot and is one of the sounds. Actually, the drums in general, I really do not do much. I might change the EQ a little bit just to get the snare going a little bit more. I might also check and affect the compressor depending on its needs. However, my advice to you guys is this: when you're using the drums, don't, put it at 0 dB and don't affect it. Make sure that you're constantly listening and mixing around that drum sound. These are sounds we can trust, okay? That's what's so awesome. So if you sort of model your mix around those existing drum tracks, you should be good. You always want to make sure you hear the drums, as much as possible. You don't want them to be buried in the mix. That snare, I hear a lot of people losing the snare in their mixes, but that's because they're not using that drum track as the focal point, A lot of people think of it as the foundation, like the base of a mountain. I think of it as the top of the mountain. Like when I'm mixing, I'm always trying to make sure that those drums are present and easy to hear, because that I know is well recorded and well done. So I can trust those sounds. So just do the same. When you're working with these auto drum sounds, just trust them and mix with that in mind, that these drum sounds are good and I need to be making sure that they continue to sound good in the mix, okay? So that's basically how I came up with the drum track and a couple of pieces of advice. Now, let's go through this a little bit and talk about where I edited some of these parts, okay? So this is chopped up a bunch. So let's just listen to this whole section here. I started to scream. I threw my glass. I punched a hole right through the wall. I didn't notice that you had left, 'cause I had finally lost control. Okay, so that, one thing you should know is that every time you drop a cut on the beat anywhere on the grid, as long as you're in time, right, that it will throw up a fill at the beginning of the edit and a crash symbol at the beginning of the next edited field, right? So what I mean is there's a fill at the end of this guy right here. There's a little fill, and then there's a crash symbol that happens here. So that is something I wanted to capture the changes through that chorus in a way, because there are just moments where it would be perfect for a crash cymbal and for the drums to work with the arrangement. I can't tell you how important it is for you guys to really go through your drum tracks and edit them down to make them move creatively and musically with the song, right? Just taking a whole track and just leaving it unedited is not, it'll work if that's what works for your song, but it is always going to be better if you take the time to go through it, choose the fills that you want, choose where you need it, where you need those edits to be to get those fills and that crash cymbal to accentuate the movement through the musical passages, if that makes any sense. But definitely go through and, make those edits. Let's just listen to this guy all by itself so you can hear, what I'm talking about. That's a long fill. Okay, let's talk about that little passage right here, this guy. One of the reasons I did this is because there's something happening on the guitar and bass that works right here. Listen. Right? So there's that ascending thing on the guitar. It's ascending on the bass. Listen again. Right? So I got that hi-hat to go doop-a-doop, doop-a-doop, ba, right? So it just helps accentuate that passage that's happening on the guitar and the bass, right? These are the kinds of things that are always going to make the auto drummer sound more realistic. It's going to sound like it's a player in the room who's working with you, It's these little details that make the drummer the fact that you can get it to match this kind of stuff is awesome. But B, it's just the stuff that makes it totally impossible for the average listener to identify the fact that they are not real drums, right? That sounds like a real player listening who knows the song. You know what I mean? So again, I'm just going to hit this nail again. Do the work. Take the time to edit your drums apart and really fine pick the fills and all that kind of stuff. In the end, it's just going to be more realistic, and that's cool. Okay. So the other thing is, like I said, on here, I don't do a lot of affecting of this sound. So you can see here, the only thing I've added is the virtual mix. Here, I do have a compressor running as well as the multi-compressor. On this particular Liverpool drum sound, it has a compressor and the multi-compressor right here. So I left the multi-compressor there because that does do a bunch of work, but I did, I think the EQ is more or less, I did scoop out a little bit of the snare, and I scooped out just a little bit of the low end on the drum, on the kick. Right? So very little, when I use the graphic EQ on here, I'm basically using it like a notch filter. This isn't exactly notched, but I do minimal things here. When I'm using, and just so you all know, I use these Slate plugins, the Slate digital plugins. Get that everything package. It is so good. But anyway, I use these kinds of setups. I use the older EQs and the compressors and stuff. They're very good, and we will get more into this when we get into the mixing part of this project, okay? But I just wanted you to see that I'm not doing a ton of EQ here or anything really drastic, and it is totally fine. If you don't have the Slate Digital, you could just leave this Liverpool drum sound alone and trust it, okay? I'm just doing this because I wanted to make sure that they match all the other tracks, because all of the tracks have the Slate Digital thing except for the electric guitar tracks. So let's look at them. So while you guys were asleep, I'm sure, I did these these guitar tracks. This Clean Echoes sound right here is one of my favorite sounds to use. I never change it. I use it with my Strat, typically either in the 5th position or the 4th. It just gives you that super beautiful Telecaster. It gives you that great Strat sound. Right? It's just that nice warm Strat sound that I love so much. And this particular preset really gets that tone right on the head. All the delays are good. All the reverbs are good. This is one of those ones I just trust and leave alone because I will just screw it up. Every time I've tried to make it a little bit better, maybe this could be better, maybe that could be better. No, it's good all by itself. So this is one of those presets that I totally recommend just using, turning it on and leaving it alone. Clean echoes, thumbs up. The other one is stadium spread. I don't do anything to this one either. This is, oh man, I love this sound. I might dial back some of the reverb because it is really, really reverb heavy, but in a song like this, it's perfect. Doesn't sound good like that, but this part is actually sort of mimicking the vocals. I love that lead tone. And in fact, it's like almost identical to my lead tone when I play electric guitar live with bands. Stadium spread is a great preset, you guys. I use it all the time. For any time I'm doing lead guitar stuff, stadium spread is the one I go to first. And like I said, I'll dial back that reverb and stuff. So that's that. Okay, so those are the presets. I wanted to talk, one thing I wanted to add here, now we're getting close to the end, is about the way that I performed this electric guitar part, okay? So keeping in mind that the one acoustic guitar track is no capo, all open chords, or at least first position chords, except for, you know, like there's a B minor and F sharp minor in there, so there are some bar chords. Anyway, then there's a second acoustic guitar that has a capo on it, and that is played up higher, same exact chords, just higher to get that effect. So when I wanted to create the electric guitar part, I had to find a third place to do that. So if I go back to somewhere like here, let's just listen to the guitars. Guitar and guitar. Okay, so number one, you should notice that I'm not playing a lot of stuff on the guitar part, okay? It's a really simple guitar part. I'm basically just playing on the ones. Every time a chord comes around, I only play that one downstroke. The reason that I do that is because this clean echoes effect is so affected. There's so much reverb, there's so much delay and stuff that if you play too much with this sound, it just sort of loses this romantic vibe, right? Especially in a song like this. But that effect, if there's too many musical events, will just get washed out because of the amount of delay and reverb. So if you're going to use this sound just like it is, keep it simple, people. Keep it simple, okay? And then the other thing that is sort of important, and it's sort of one of those nitpicky little things that I do, but especially on this part, I was very, very aware of when I'm strumming down on the guitar, I don't always hit the high E string, or sometimes I don't even go all the way down to the B string. I'm very selective about the moments that I get that really high sound to poke out, okay? So let's listen to that. That's a high one. High one. Okay, maybe that wasn't the best passage to listen to. I hit a lot of high E's. Let's listen to this. Okay, that's a really good example. There's no high E, maybe in the first chord. Okay, so through that passage, you could hear, you know, there's moments where I am playing the high E string, but others where I am not. It's just one of those little things. That high E sound, especially on a Strat or any electric guitar with this sound, it will dominate the section if you just are constantly letting that ring out. Since I have the high acoustic guitar, I don't want to I don't want to void that effectiveness. You know what I mean? So I wanted to make sure that the acoustic guitar had plenty of space in that higher range to poke out. So I didn't do it all the time on the electric guitar. It's not, maybe this isn't the best example of a passage. It's just something I wanted to talk to you about, just as food for thought as you're doing your electric guitar parts. You don't always have to strum every string, and it's good to sometimes stop 4 strings down. That's basically it. It's just one of those little nitpicky things that I do. So I think that basically covers what I wanted to talk about today. Always keep your parts simple, especially if there's sort of like this kind of a thing. If there's lots of guitars already happening, those acoustic guitars are strumming away like, happy little strumming guitars. So there's no need for the electric guitar part to be strummy and busy, right? It should just be lifting moments, especially in the choruses. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. Anything else? Questions, comments, anything below. And don't forget, you guys, I do mix songs for you guys. So if you're curious about having me mix a song, check out garagebandandbeyond.com. There's a mixing inquiries page there with all of the details for that. And of course, my Patreon page is something that I'm really interested in getting more people over to, because I'm basically making these videos for free, you guys. So you supporting my channel on Patreon is one of the ways that I am able to do this. So if you are a current patron, I thank you so much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the help over there. The rest of you, if you're interested, check it out. There's all sorts of exclusive things that happen on my Patreon page that do not happen on the YouTube channel. And one of the new rewards I will mention is that I will review your mixes and give you mixed notes back. And that's for every tier on my Patreon page. Doesn't matter if you're paying $1 a video or $100, you get that service. So take advantage of that. If you want professional notes on your mixes and how to make them better, get on the Patreon page, people, and then you are eligible to do that. So that's just one of my favorite new rewards, and I thought I'd mention it because I have not. Anyway, have a great day, you guys. I will talk to you soon. Peace.